Get in there. Why? No, my controller.
See, I'm questioning if I should buy keys or if I shouldn't buy keys. Dylan,
Yeah.
see, like, I want to get this game, but I also want to get keys.
Yeah, my controller's making me lose.
Ooh, I think I have a
Sad.
buyer, Dylan.
Earm. Pathetic. Really got him flying. Oh, that's another goal for him.
Dylan, I'm
I'm
selling
just
it for
playing.
2 keys.
I'm playing trash.
Dylan, I'm
That's
selling my
good.
lime for 2 keys. Because I don't think I could go for 3 because there's painted, like crimson painted's going for freaking more.
Of course, it doesn't fall. Get me by a garbage. I'm losing by 4 points. I don't know why. It's because I'm just hopped in a game and I
Well,
just woke up.
you don't count.
Don't hop in a game when you just woke up. You lose. I'm at about 0% of my skill right now. Literally, I just... Right now, I lost to 6 by somebody really, really bad.
Yeah, so the update should be dropping today, Dylan.
I didn't even... What update? The one with the new cars?
Yeah.
That's in July, Jane.
Oh,
5th.
same thing.
It drops in a month from now.
So I can still buy my white discos.
I have an issue.
What?
This guy's asking me what, like, the guy, there's a big tournament that I'm entering in. It's like, states, all the states, state versus state, and there's teams for all of the states. And I was gonna cast for it, but
Yeah.
he's asking me what organizations I've casted for, and I haven't casted for any, so that's the issue. Alright, I gotta get some of these out of here. Server. Nexus, leave server. You'll leave that server. Try closing it. Delete server. Delete.
Number 77. A year later, the NES 4-Score came out in 1990. The 4-Score was not wireless, but it did have a turbo button switch that gave rapid fire to connected controllers. Number 78. The Family Computer 3D system was released in Japan and made graphics look 3D to players. It came with one game and was never released in any other countries. Number 79. Now You're Knitting with Power sounds like an April Fool's prank, but it was actually something Nintendo seriously considered as an ad slogan. Former Nintendo employee Howard Phillips once posted a long-forgotten product brochure from the late 1980s on Facebook that demonstrated the company was playing with the idea of a knitting machine peripheral that could be attached to the NES. The add-on and the disc cartridges were apparently met with tepid reception during an industry event and never released. Number 80. The Famicom Disk System peripheral played games from floppy disks in custom yellow plastic cases. The word Nintendo was put on every diskette as a copyright protection. Certain letter grooves were deeper than others, so when it was inserted into the drive, only the legitimate disc would fit the exact groove slots. Fraudulent discs wouldn't fit perfectly and therefore wouldn't run. Number 81. Third parties went nuts making games for Famicom. The Famicom had almost twice as many games as the NES, but most of them were pretty awful.
I don't
Though
want to
the NES
open
had some
Rocket
bad ones
League.
too, it didn't come close to the Famicom number of terrible games. Number 82. Because of this, Nintendo was strict in their third-party policies. The parties had to be licensed to make games for Nintendo, and the licensing terms prohibited them from making games for other consoles. The terms also limited them to making only 2 games per year for Nintendo. Number 83. To add to their licensing policies, Nintendo created the seal of quality to prevent overload of unlicensed games that the Atari 2600 and other consoles faced. Many customers misunderstood this to mean the game itself was guaranteed to be top quality. Luckily for Nintendo, the games were usually pretty good and pleased customers. Number 84. Nintendo laid down more limitations, mostly to prohibit religious or inappropriate content. These rules led to the characters in Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo oozing sweat instead of blood. Number 85. When NES first came out, the hardware called 10NES helped the consoles avoid the low-quality software that had become a problem for Atari. But Nintendo ended up dealing with another problem. Tengen, a subsidiary of Atari Games, used Nintendo's copyright documents to reverse engineer the 10NES chip and make its own compatible version, called Rabbit. Nintendo then sued for patent infringement and won the case. Silly Rabbit, tricks are for kids. Number 86. Bandai has no record of how many copies of the game's stadium events they produced, but it was a hit with Nintendo. It was an athletic game meant to be used with the Power Pad exercise mat, and Nintendo loved it so much they licensed it and released it themselves. Number 87. Nintendo did give the beloved game a new title though. They called it World Class Track Meet. They pulled all copies of stadium events from the market, and those pulled copies now run anywhere from $35,000 to $45,000 at auctions. Number 88. Cartridges come in 2 pieces, CHR-ROM and PRG-ROM. The CHR-ROM stores characters and graphical data, while the PRG-ROM stores commands and programs. Number 89. These 2-piece cartridges are one of the main reasons the console lasted long. NES can support bigger games by paging between different ROM files. A game like Kirby's Adventure was way too big for the NES's built-in memory, so basically the ROMs saved the day. Number 90. Everyone after that pretty much copied this genius cartridge format to make bigger games. Later on, some publishers even made high-end high-end cartridges for their fancy quality games, like Konami's rare VRC-7 chip, which allowed more advanced music capabilities for the game Lagrange Point. Number 91. Remember how cool those TVs with built-in VCRs were? Well, in 1989, Sharp made a TV with a built-in NES. What? When players turned the console on, the channel indicator would read P to confirm that the NES was on. Way old school and way cool. Number 92. The NES 101 came out in 1993 and was a revamped version of the NES, but the design was modeled after the Super Nintendo console. It was flatter and curvier and smaller than the original. Number 93. The NES 101 also had a big red power switch on top versus the old power button in front of the original. The reset button was gray, bigger, and placed on top, and the controllers looked like the dog bone shaped Super Nintendo controllers. Number 94. If you're wondering why NES games are so hard, late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata explained the process on an episode of the Japanese show Game Center CX. During the debug process, everyone involved in the game's production would spend all night playing it, and because they make games, they become good at them. So expert gamers would make these games saying this was too easy. The result was the programmers would go back and make the games harder, based on their own skill levels of expertise. Number 95. The Captain Nintendo Hotline was an 800 number service that provided tips, but the overwhelming number of calls forced Nintendo to convert to a 900 toll service by 1990. Game counselors could talk to kids through difficult spots, but also found themselves being asked questions about school, or, in the case of older gamers, marriage issues. The company eventually capped calls at 7 minutes to avoid inadvertent therapy sessions.
Open crate.
Number 96. Remember when blowing into cartridges was the very thing that helped fix them? Shigeru Miyamoto admitted to that being an official remedy. He even compared it to a malfunctioning TV. If it doesn't have that signal, whack it. However, he says if players really wanted to take care of their games, an official cleaning
Yay!
I see what you're doing there, Nintendo. Number 97. In 1990, fans across the US heard about a special Nintendo World Championship challenge. Nintendo road tripped it across the country in search of the greatest NES player ever. Though other video game challenges have popped up since then, none of them became as famous or garnered as much excitement as the Nintendo World Championships. Number 98. Over 600 games were developed for the NES and over 1,000 for the Famicom. They can't fit all of that in one GameStop, can they? Number 99. Back in the day, Nintendo was able to create a video game with only 5 to 6 people working on it. Nowadays, a team of 50 to 60 developers work on a game. Given the advancement, it's understandable. Number 100. The last game released on NES was Wario's Woods, the 8-bit adaptation of the Super Nintendo Puzzler. It was released in December 1994, a week after the Sony PlayStation launched in Japan. Yep, the NES lasted that long, through 3 console generations. Number 101. The console was available in Japan until September 2003, making it the longest-lasting gaming console in their history, and certainly the most memorable. Number 102. Yamauchi aimed to sell 1 million hardware units of this console, but it did way better, of course. It ended up selling 14 million in Japan alone. Number 103. By the end of its run, over 60 million NES units had been sold throughout the world. Number 104. If you think video game consoles can't win in 2007, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences awarded the Technological and Engineering Emmy Awards to Nintendo for their D-pad innovation. Yeah, D-pad! Take that, Modern Family. Number 105. While the NES in its heyday was never officially released in the Soviet Union, an unlicensed Chinese hardware clone named the Dendy was produced in Russia in the early 90s. Aesthetically, it's an exact duplicate of the original Famicom, with the color scheme and labels altered. In addition, the hardwired controllers of the original console were omitted in favor of removable controllers which connected to the front of the unit using DP9 serial connectors, identical to those used in the Atari 2600 and the Atari 8-bit family of computers. All games sold in Russia for Dendy are bootleg copies, not the original Nintendo cartridges. Number 106. Surprise, surprise! Super Mario Bros. Was the most popular game on the NES, selling over 40 million copies to date. Mamma mia! Number 107. Other bestsellers include Duck Hunt, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 2, The Legend of Zelda, Tetris, Dr. Mario, Zelda 2, Excitebike, and Golf. Most of these hits will be pre-installed in the NES
no
Classic Edition
whammies.
released November 11, 2016. You have completed
No
100
whammies, no
facts
whammies,
about
no
the Nintendo Entertainment
whammies.
System and Famicom, and proved the justice of our culture. Which NES game was your favorite? Which facts were nostalgic? Are you gonna buy the NES?
I'm not getting a whammy. Oh, I got a
Show me
whammy.
again. Really?